Welcome everybody, Film Fan 108 here to my Blu-ray pickup video for December of 2019. Yes, we are finally here, the final pickups of the entire year of 2019. And well, I don't think I've disappointed, guys. Not by a long shot. Oh yeah, not by a long shot indeed, guys. Quite a lot of titles that I picked up for the final month of 2019. So let's get into it, shall we? With the first title that I picked up for the month, and that is none other than The Devil's Rock right here, guys, on Blu-ray. Now, this is a Canadian release, and I've had this title in the collection before. I've actually had it on DVD. Now, I've kept it on DVD for quite a long time, and I recently ended up lending it to my friend John, and he really enjoyed it. And I said, you know what? Honestly, keep the DVD, because if you really love the movie that much, why not just keep it on DVD? And I knew that I was going to pick this up eventually, and it's such a very unique and interesting horror film. It basically takes place really the night before sort of D-Day happens. And these couple of soldiers are tasked on a mission to sort of stop this sort of communications bunker or something from sending out, this communication to their enemies, and sort of helping with the incoming sort of D-Day invasion and everything. And what they find here is absolutely disturbing, and it opens up so many doors of what the Nazis have been doing and the experiments, and it goes into the occult. And I've always loved these type of movies. I really have, guys. I mean, these type of movies have always been something that I've been really fascinated by. I've always been really fascinated by Hitler and sort of the Nazi regime and the kind of things Hitler was doing to try to win the war. And I've heard so many stories of him trying to dive into the occult and him trying to find things and procure artifacts. And I've always found that really fascinating, of him really doing that and him believing in this stuff. Things like the Indiana Jones movies, like things like the Ark of the Covenant and stuff like that, the Hellboy movies, have always been something I've really been fascinated with, diving into that sort of occult history with the Nazis. I've always thought that stuff was really extremely fascinating. And this is the same way, sort of using the occult and using science and twisting it to your benefit. I think the movie's really cool. It's definitely R-rated. It's very gross. It has its moments of blood. It has its moments of gore. I think the acting is really cool here. I think the demonic entity that they conjure up, I think that the demon is really cool here, as you can see right on the cover here. I think she looks extremely badass. I think the makeup effects are really cool here. I think this is a really genuinely really cool horror film that I don't know if many people really know about, guys. I really don't think you guys do know much about it. And you guys know through the previous Blu-ray pickup videos that I do get some pretty obscure stuff from time to time. When I saw this originally years ago, I really fell in love with it. And I still to this day really love it so much. And I've always wanted to pick up the Blu-ray. And the Blu-ray has never actually had a United States release. It's had releases in Germany, it's had releases in Canada and other countries, but not here in the United States. And so I've been sort of circling the release for a while, wanting to get it, but have never really pulled the trigger, and then I finally did it here. And what's weird is that I've kind of seen it at the Dollar Tree stores as well previously, and I'm like, wow, I would have never thought to have seen this over at the Dollar Tree stores, but damn glad I did. I'm hoping people definitely find more about this film and really check it out, because it's really cool. If you're definitely into the Nazi occult horror stuff, I think this is definitely right up your alley, guys. So definitely take a look at this one because I think you guys are really going to enjoy it quite a bit. I definitely do, guys. It's definitely worth your time in a big bad way. And you get here feature commentary with the director. You get behind the scenes featurettes, outtakes, extended scenes. Actually, not bad stuff here, guys. This is definitely a worthy horror film. You know, I find that a lot of the indie stuff doesn't generally get a lot of buzz. So I try to definitely promote that stuff in a big bad way, and The Devil's Rock is definitely one you guys should look into. So damn glad to finally have the Blu-ray in the collection. I gave the DVD to my friend John, and I know he's definitely going to cherish that as I'm going to cherish the Blu-ray for sure, guys. Definitely check this one out. Not bad at all. The Devil's Rock. Then the next title that I picked up is a Severin release that I was kind of curious about, so I figured, why not give it a chance? And I definitely did, and that is Paganini Horror right here, guys. And oh man, this is a really cool cover. I think this is really just, I love this cover, man. I think it's really cool, dude. I love the imagery here so much, man. Now, Severin released this probably a month or two back, probably October, November-ish. And what ended up happening was that I always was interested in this movie. I've heard about it before from previous people who would show it off on Facebook posts and people talking about Italian horror movies. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm like thinking, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to pick this one up. And I kept on, there were times when I wanted it and other times when I was like not sure about it. But when Severin released it, I realized, okay, maybe I'm going to give this one a chance. And I ordered it through Family Video. Now, it's actually the first time I've ever ordered through Family Video. I got it for an extremely great price. It is still the limited edition release. And what I mean by the limited edition release is actually it comes with the soundtrack as well. Now, the regular release of Paganini Horror from Severin does not have the soundtrack in it. This one actually does. So I was happy to get it, the limited edition, for a great price on Family Video's site. And yes, it took a while to get here. But I will have to admit though that to be honest with you, I actually was really happy with the shipping. I thought that it came in great condition, so I definitely would order from Family Video again. And this movie is basically about this band that has kind of been struggling for a while, and they end up taking this song from this, you know, basically old school composer from the 19th century who sort of sold his soul to the devil. And now sort of it seems like they're being haunted by this composer now, and this composer is perhaps killing out of retribution, taking their souls. And you know, you're kind of like, what the hell is actually going on here? It's a cool sort of rock and roll horror film, rock and roll Italian horror film. It's kind of got that American sensibility of like, you know, sort of hair metal, you know, sort of rock type of stuff from the 80s, but at the same time it has that Italian sensibility with the blood and the gore and sort of the over the top acting at times that the Italians can do. It's great. I do like it. I like the bad guy. The bad guy is a little bit over the top. Uh, the makeup effects are kind of cheesy at times. The kills are cool to a little bit ridiculous. I did enjoy this one, man. I don't know if I outright loved it, but I definitely enjoyed it enough to definitely keep it in the collection, man. You know, when it comes to Italian horror, I can't say that I love every Italian horror film that's out there, guys, but this one I absolutely really enjoyed, man. I thought it was cool, it was cheesy, it has its B-movie sensibilities. It's a little bit over the top, but it's really fun. I really love all the acting here, including Donald Pleasance, who definitely is over the top in a really pleasant way. I always love Donald Pleasance. He sort of goes all out on his roles. He really does, man. He sort of goes wacky and kind of insane, but it's really fun. Yeah, man, this was kind of a surprise. It was a good Italian horror film. It's not the best Italian horror film you're ever gonna see, but I thought it was pretty decent, and I definitely enjoyed it, and I think Severin definitely gave it the love that it deserves by far, guys. I mean, you get an interview with the director, and he really talks about going into why he made the movies, the sensibilities of what he was trying to accomplish, with sort of the old school sort of composer mentality versus rock and roll. He was talking about that stuff. It's actually not a bad interview. You also get an interview with one of the actors as well, deleted scenes, alternate ending, and a trailer. Not bad here, not bad release as well. And also the soundtrack is really cool here as well. It's a really, really great soundtrack, man. It's an Italian shocker horror film. You gotta love the Italians, man. They go all out in a really great way sometimes, and this is definitely one of them, dude. I really enjoyed this one. Definitely gonna stay in the collection by far. Gotta love Italian horror at times, man. Definitely well worth checking out. Paganini Horror. And the next title that I picked up, guys, is a 4K Blu-ray digital release of Oliver Stone's The Doors right here, guys, with that really great slip right here. And actually the same artwork on the inside as well. Not half bad there. Now, this actually is an upgrade in the collection. I used to have the DVD a long while back. It used to be that two-disc DVD that had sort of two flaps for the opening, sort of one flap on the front end, which had the first DVD, and on the back side, you open up the back side and it had the second DVD. I used to have that release, and I got rid of it a long while back. And I always kind of missed having this movie in the collection. And I was at Best Buy in December, and I had been eyeing this release of The Doors there, and I kept on like seeing it's not selling, but I don't see a price tag for it, so I don't know what it is. And one day I looked on Amazon, and I just took a gamble going up and saying, "Hey, this is the price on Amazon. Uh, can you guys price match it?" And they did, and I'm so happy to have it now in the collection. Now, I am a big fan of the music of the Doors. I think their music is really hypnotic. I think it's really very catchy. I love a lot of how they arrange their music, and I think Jim Morrison in general is such a mysterious figure. He really is. He's that sort of whole Lizard King mentality, sensibility. And I've always sort of loved the mysterious aspect of him and the band and sort of their influence on the time period. And I always thought it would be a very interesting movie to talk about the band in sort of a sort of biopic sensibility. Sort of combine that with Oliver Stone, and Oliver Stone is such a unique filmmaker that takes sort of true life material and spins it into his own sort of way of telling a story. And I thought the combination of the two really honestly worked. I really honestly thought it did a really great job here, man. I mean, it basically is the story of Jim Morrison growing up, starting the band, the rise and the fall, and I think the movie's very well done. I think it's really well told. I love the acting here by everybody, especially Val Kilmer, man, as Jim Morrison. I think he kills it as Jim Morrison here. I think Val Kilmer to me is such an underrated actor. I think he really is. And I think when you look at movies like The Doors and other stuff that he did back in the day, comedies like Top Secret, his supporting role in Top Gun, Real Genius, a bunch of other stuff that he's done, man. He's such a really great actor that I don't think we really celebrate as much as maybe we should. And his portrayal as Jim Morrison is on fire. It's electric, man. He really taps into Jim Morrison in a big bad way, man. And he did a phenomenal job here, as did Oliver Stone with the directing. He really goes out of his way to tell this story and really dives into the world of the Doors, the world of Jim Morrison, of this band, of the time period. I think he really did a great job here. Now, mind you, the movie is not 100% accurate, and I think that's why people really sort of bag on the film at times, because the problem I think that a lot of people have, to be fair, is I think a lot of people look at this movie and they say, well, it's not accurate with Jim Morrison's sort of girlfriends, and it's not accurate with certain things with the band and stuff like that. And I said, and I understand that sort of the band and other girlfriends of Jim Morrison have had issues with this movie, but honestly, I think this is probably one of the best representations of a musical biopic that I think we've ever seen. I think Oliver Stone, I think he does a really solid job here, because you have to understand that any musical biopic, and it doesn't matter who we're talking about here, Elton John or the Beatles or the Doors, anybody here. The fact that you have to take so much material and crunch it down to about a 2+ hour movie, that's not easy to do, man. And I think Oliver Stone did the best job he possibly could. I think with the acting here and with the directing, I think it's really well done. This movie's not for everybody, and I think people focus a little bit too much on the inaccuracies at points, but I really enjoy the movie quite a bit, man, and I think it's well worth checking this movie out, especially the 4K, because I think the 4K looks really great here. I really honestly do. Now, you get here a lot of stuff, man. There's a lot of stuff here to dive into. You get audio commentary with Oliver Stone. It's on the theatrical cut only. You get interviews with Oliver Stone, a new one on the 4K. You get one with the editor. You get a bunch of featurettes on the making of the movie, deleted scenes, theatrical trailers, and much more. Now, this comes with the theatrical cut, and it comes with the final cut. I've watched both. I'm actually more of a fan of... See, God damn it, because I like both, actually. I like the theatrical cut and the final cut for various reasons. I think both flow really well. I think I prefer the theatrical cut just slightly, but the final cut is really good as well. It just depends on, there's just moments that are sort of cut off from the movie that were added back in, and certain moments doesn't really doesn't really hurt the film or help the film exactly. I just like the theatrical cut just a slightly bit more. I'm usually more of a fan of extended cuts, but here I'll take the theatrical cut a little bit more. But I do like both cuts, though. I think both are really good, man. And it's a really good musical biopic, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I have to admit that not every musical biopic is good, and I understand why people have frustrations with certain ones, but this I thought was really fantastic, and I really enjoyed this one quite a bit, guys. So for me, this is definitely a recommend, man. And if you haven't checked the movie out, definitely do it. And definitely check out the 4K, because I thought they did a really great job with the picture quality, honestly. I didn't think it was half bad, man. The Doors. Then the next title that I picked up is one that I got in an Arrow video sale during the month of November, December. Got into my hands in December, and that is The Beast Within. Yes, very nice. Finally, I got this back in the collection. Now, this is actually, and well, it's not exactly an upgrade exactly, because I used to own this film. I used to own the Scream Factory Blu-ray that came out years ago, and I got rid of it. I got rid of the Scream Factory edition, and I don't even know why I got rid of it. I just ended up like not really feeling the movie exactly, and then I sort of rewatched it at one point on sort of a streaming service or whatever. I did, and I realized how much I really did love the movie, but I didn't want to get the Scream Factory version again. And I had heard how great the Arrow edition was, and I was like, wow, there's more features on the Arrow edition. I love Arrow edition's sort of picture quality that they really do, and putting a lot of effort into it. And I thought, I'm going to pick the Arrow edition over the Scream Factory edition. So that's what I did, man. And I have to admit that this movie is all kinds of interesting and weird and kind of bizarre because the movie is actually about this woman and her husband, and she ends up getting raped by this person or this creature. Something defiled her. And you don't quite know what, and she ends up getting pregnant and having a child. And the story picks up about 16 or 17 years later, where they're going back to this town, and suddenly this kid now is starting to mature. He's starting to get these sort of feelings, and his body is changing, and he's might be turning into something that she got raped by at the beginning of the film, and it might be very disturbing what he's turning into, some kind of weird creature. I really enjoy the movie. It's all kind of weird and ridiculous. It's sort of serious but kind of oddball B movie qualities at times. I really like the weird sort of oddball creature effects, especially towards the end of the movie when he's changing into this weird creature, sort of weird bladders and sort of eyeballs popping out and just really odd shit. That I when the first time I ever watched this movie, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm like, what is this? Like, it's just really bizarre. Definitely a slow moving film. It starts off really fast paced and it's definitely slow. It's a slow build movie. But I really like the performances here. I like the story of this kid changing and his body sort of going through this stuff. It's almost it's almost an allegory for puberty in a lot of ways if you really think about it, man. I really enjoyed the movie quite a bit. I think it's fun. I think it has its sort of B movie odd sensibilities, but I like sort of the creature feature aspect to it. It's not a bad movie, man. It's not the best sort of creature feature movie you've ever seen, but it's pretty decent though, man. I do enjoy this one quite a bit, man. It's definitely got its odd sensibilities, that's for sure, man. But definitely kind of fun, man. And Arrow did a lot of great stuff here, guys. I mean, you get here an in-depth look back at Philip Morris Creature Feature, classic featuring brand new interviews from Tom Holland and a lot of the actors as well. You get image galleries, you get an all-new animated feature in which Philip Morris discusses the film's journey from storyboard to screen, audio commentary, original trailer, and much more, guys. So they definitely gave it the love it deserves, and actually more special features than the Scream Factory version that I previously had. Arrow and Scream Factory tend to go back and forth sometimes in their editions, and sometimes I've picked up the Scream Factory edition, and sometimes I've picked up the Arrow edition. This time around, picked up the Arrow one, and I'm actually glad because I think this is the more superior version. I think the picture quality is good. It's not the best picture quality you've ever seen, but it's pretty decent. It's an old school film. It's an indie sort of horror flick. It wasn't going to look the greatest, but I think Arrow did a great job with everything considering the special features, picture quality. Arrow does a great job on all their releases, and this is definitely no exception, guys. An odd, weird creature feature, but definitely worth checking out, man. Not bad at all. The Beast Within. And the next pickup that I got, guys, is another Arrow edition that I got during the Arrow video sale there. Their sort of Black Friday Arrow video sale that I ended up taking advantage of. And that is Slugs, which is really great old school cover, man, which looks really cool, dude. That is really nice. Now, I sort of took a gamble on Slugs. So, unlike The Beast Within, I had never seen Slugs. And I was always curious about it because I've always seen the trailer for Slugs, and it always looked really sort of gross and gory. And I was always like, okay, this kind of looks fun and interesting. I kind of want to give this one a look, man. And I've always wanted to pull the trigger on it, and I just decided, you know what, during the Arrow video sale, I'm just gonna pull the trigger on this sucker, and kind of glad I did, because the movie is about this town that is basically overrun by these killer slugs, dude. And they're sort of getting into the food and getting in people's, stomachs, and they're just coming out of every orifice and pore, and they're just overrunning the town, and they gotta try to solve this mystery of how to kill these fuckers. And it's so great, dude. It's so great, man. I really love this movie so much, man. I can't say enough good things about this, dude. It's bloody, it's gory as shit, dude. I mean, there are moments here where you're just like grossed out by the slugs and where they're coming out of, and you're just like, oh god, it's great. It's so great, dude. And I've always really loved these type of movies where there is this sort of like almost like these insects and they're invading your body. It's like stuff like sort of arachnophobia back in the day, or other sort of old school stuff from like the 70s or 80s, man. Like just stuff like that where you're just like, oh god, it's great. And I think Slugs definitely is in that vein. I think Slugs does a great job. Yes, the movie is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's got a lot of B movie cheese to it. But you want to know what, man? That's kind of the charm to the movie, right? I mean, without it, I think the movie would be kind of dull. I think the acting is sort of weird and over the top and ridiculous, but all of it is to the benefit of the movie, and it plays to the movie's strengths. I'm not going into Slugs thinking it's completely high art, okay? Because I know it's not. But it's just really fun, and I had a fun time with this movie, dude. I really honestly did, no lie. I had a ball with it. It's not for everybody, but it's for me. I really enjoyed this one quite a bit, dude. And I think that Arrow Video did a really good job here, man. I mean, you get your audio commentary with the author of Slugs, which I didn't even think that this was actually based on any kind of book stuff, but it actually is. Crazy enough, man. You get that. You also get an audio commentary by the writer and filmmaker Chris Alexander. Now, it's actually because he didn't actually direct this movie. He's actually a fan of the movie, so he comes from it from a fanboy perspective, which is really interesting. You also end up getting here an interview with some of the actors, interview with special effects artists, the art directors. They give you sort of a locations tour with the production manager from the film, trailers, and much more, dude. They definitely dive into this film, the making of it, the over the top stuff, the difficulties that they had to deal with the slugs. Just it's just sort of great, and it makes me appreciate the movie even more because again, this is a time back in the day where you didn't have CGI, you didn't have computer effects, you had to do stuff old school, and it's just something about this film that I really appreciate, man. So I really enjoy this one quite a bit, dude. Over the top, ridiculous, gory as hell, but right up my alley, man. I really enjoy this one quite a bit, dude. Think you guys will if you like the stuff that I do. Slugs. Then the next title I picked up is a Scream Factory Collector's Edition release. It's never been in the collection before. Kind of crazy considering I'm a huge fan of the director, and that is Big Trouble in Little China. Yes, the collector's edition of that with this really great slipcover, guys, which looks really fantastic. And then on the inside, the theatrical art right there. Always really love that art, man. Very nice. Now, I love John Carpenter. I think I've said that a ton of times when I've talked about him on whether it's the Out and About or other Blu-ray pickup videos. I love Carpenter. Carpenter is one of my top 10 favorite directors of all time. That is no doubt, man. And Big Trouble in Little China has never been a movie that I've really been attracted to. It's always been The Thing, or it's always been Halloween, They Live, stuff like that. It's never actually been stuff like Big Trouble in Little China that I've actually gravitated towards Carpenter and his work. And and I've liked the film, but I've never actually really loved the film and appreciated the film until now. And watching the film now, there's a real appreciation that I get for it that Carpenter was doing something completely different outside of the box than he normally did. He was doing this sort of sci-fi, magical martial arts movie that I think was underappreciated at the time when it came out. I don't think anybody was really kind of like clamoring for a movie like this. I think nowadays, I think people sort of have a hunger for this type of stuff now. But back in the day, I think it was kind of a little too much for people to handle, or it's kind of too weird, and people sort of stayed away from it. But I think now rewatching it, it really sort of struck me how much I really love this film now compared to when I was younger. I think when I was younger, I gravitated to a lot of his more horror stuff. Here, I I'm older. My sensibilities have changed a little bit. I appreciate this film more than what I did previously. But I really love this movie, and it's basically about this guy Jack Burton, played by Kurt Russell, and he's this uh, sort of boisterous and sort of over the top ridiculous truck driver who gets caught up in this whole like scheme of sort of possessing bodies and ancient evils coming back to life and blood feuds and having to sort of try to be the reluctant hero in all of this. And it's really over the top, but it's so fantastic, dude. I mean, Kurt Russell here plays the best version that he can of this sort of goofy, reluctant American hero in this Chinese martial arts movie. He's sort of a fish out of water, but he plays it in the best way of trying to be tough, but yet a complete scaredy cat at the same time. I think Kurt Russell's awesome here, man. Kurt Russell is great. He's great in all of the Carpenter stuff, but here he really sort of owns the role in a big bad way. Kim Cattrall is really great here as well. I love sort of Kim Cattrall being the tough chick, but also the damsel in distress as well. I've always loved Kim Cattrall, man. Whether it's Sex in the City or Porky's, stuff like that. She's always done a really great job. She does a great job here as well, and everybody does a really fantastic job here, man. Dennis Dunn here, James Hong, who plays the bad guy, which I love James Hong quite a bit, man. James Hong is always a fantastic, sort of foreign actor that I've always really loved his work, man. I think one of the first things I ever saw of his was actually when he played Wayne's girlfriend's dad in Wayne's World 2. And I really loved that quite a bit, man. I thought, man, he was really cool. And then finding his other work like this, he's really cool here, man. I love sort of the sort of sci-fi magic in the movie. I really love the martial arts stuff here. I think the martial arts stuff is really fantastic. I think meaning John Carpenter, films it really well. I love all of the stunt actors. I think everybody does a really great job with this movie. And it's a movie that was very underappreciated when it came out. I don't think a lot of people really appreciated it at the time when it did, because I think it was way ahead of its time. Nobody really actually was expecting this movie from Carpenter, and it sort of flopped and it wasn't a big hit. And I think over time it's been appreciated more and more, and I can see why it is. And honestly, with Scream Factory, they gave it a really great love that it honestly deserves, man. I mean, you get a new audio commentary with the producer, you get a new audio commentary with special effects artist Steve Johnson, the old school audio commentary with director John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. And by the way, guys, any commentary with John Carpenter and Kurt Russell is fantastic. Honestly, they do some of the best audio commentaries, and I'm so glad that Scream Factory put this one on there because it's really well worth it. You also get theatrical trailers, TV spots, vintage interviews, and on top of that, you get a second disc full of interviews with a lot of the actors and stunt people, Dennis Dunn, James Hong, a lot of the martial arts choreographers, old school interviews with John Carpenter, Kurt Russell, cinematographer, music videos, gag reel, extended endings, still galleries, and so much more. Deleted scenes, you name it, guys. There's so much here, man. And they all have a love for Carpenter. They all talk about how much they really have high respect for Carpenter, and the idea that Carpenter was somebody who really championed making this as authentic as possible with the martial arts. He didn't want to water down the martial arts. He wanted to have as much experts in there and have great sort of stunts and not have it be fake or sort of too Americanized. I really like that a lot. There's a lot of high praise from everybody talking about Carpenter here, and I've always loved Carpenter, and Carpenter is one of those really great underrated directors. And I think a lot of people over the years have started to find a lot of his work, the underappreciated stuff outside of the Halloweens and other films like that. And I think Big Trouble in Little China is one of those movies that I think is one of those sort of underappreciated gems that has gotten more appreciation over the years, and it's still growing to this day, man. If you love martial arts films, definitely give this one a look, because it's really cool, dude. I really love this one a lot, and Kurt Russell's awesome in it. It's a great John Carpenter film. I love him so much. Well worth your time, guys, and a great addition by Scream Factory. Not bad at all. Big Trouble in Little China. And the next pickup that I got, guys, is wow, this is a movie that I have been waiting to get for a long, long time, guys. No lie, it's been a while. And it finally came to me a long time coming, and that is Return to Nukem High, aka Volume 2. Yes, the Blu-ray right here, guys. And in my best sort of Troma, Lloyd Kaufman over the topness there. And wow. Okay. So I am a big fan of Troma. I really love Troma. I think Troma is a fantastic company. And they make some of the weirdest, over the top movies you have ever seen in your entire goddamn life. Really. And at the same time, they're so enjoyable, and they have social commentary in it, even though it might be really hidden, they have it in there. I've always loved Lloyd Kaufman, and I've even met Lloyd Kaufman at a horror convention, and he is one of the nicest guys you will ever meet. You know, you sort of see him in like these promo trailers, or you sort of see him in interviews, and he's so over the top and ridiculous, but he's very humbling. He's a guy who really appreciates the fan base. And I remember seeing the first Return to Nukem High Volume 1, and I saw it in a indie theater in my area with my friend Ron, and we really loved the movie so much. It was so weird and bizarre, and we loved the characters, and we loved how sort of, you know, sort of it's a statement on sort of organic foods, on sort of teenage love, you know, gay, lesbian, transgenders. It sort of goes into a lot of sort of interesting ideas, yet makes it its own Troma way. And I could not wait for what Volume 2 brought. I really couldn't. And there was a Kickstarter campaign for Volume 2 around 2015. And I contributed it to the campaign in May or June of 2015. And so I contributed in the middle of 2015. And I heard at one point there was a talk of maybe getting the movie and the Kickstarter rewards possibly in 2016. 2016 came and went. Nothing. Then they said, well, we'll get it in 2017. 2017 came and went. Then they said, well, we're going to get it in 2018. 2018 came and went. And still nothing. No Blu-ray in my hand. No sign of this movie ever coming out. And then finally in 2019 they said, we're going to get it. Now, mind you, I went the majority of 2019 thinking to myself, okay, we're going to get this. And then once we hit around October or November of 2019, I said, there's no way we're getting this. Like, I'm not getting this in 2019. There's just, I've been waiting this long throughout the year. We're just not getting it. And then that's when they said, oh, we're shipping stuff out and we're doing stuff. And I got it in December, the final month of 2019. It's taken me 4 years to get this movie through my Kickstarter contribution that I did all the way back in 2015, guys. So I contributed to this thing over 4 years ago, and finally is getting this in the mail. Kickstarters take a long time to do, I understand it, but that's a long wait, man, for a movie. So I was definitely anticipating this film in a big bad way. And basically, it just picks up from part one, sort of all the craziness and everything that happened from part one. If you haven't watched part one, definitely do it. And part two is so fucking crazy and so fucking ridiculous. I can't barely describe this thing. This thing is just all over the place, dude. It is so gory. It is so disgusting. It is laughably bad. The special effects are over the top and crazy. And yet I had such fun with this movie, guys. I had so much fun and enjoyment with this movie that I can't I can't really say I, I can't really say I loved it as a movie. I loved it as an experience because this is an experience to watch. The first movie feels like a film. There's a narrative there. There's a narrative of a storyline with these characters and the struggles that they're going through and dealing with the Troma organic foods and this evil conglomerate corporation that's trying to poison these teens in this high school. And the second one just takes all of that and throws it in a blender and just says, fuck it. We're throwing everything on the screen. Puke, vomit, blood, piss, shit, everything. They are just literally just taking it and literally just throwing it in your goddamn face, man. And this movie is all kinds of ridiculousness and over the top and nutty, and it is an experience to watch, man. That's what this movie is. It is an experience, and that's just what you are going to get with Troma. It's an absolute crazy, over the top ride of an experience, man. And you're either going to go on that train or you're not. And I've been on that train for a long time being a Troma fan, and this is no exception, man. So I can't say I quite love the movie, but I can't say I hated it either. This is just one hell of a ride to watch, man. Because you're sitting there, you're like it's just one nutty and crazy venture, dude. But that's what Troma is, man. And you're either gonna love it or not. But yeah, that's what it is, man. And as far as the Blu-ray, the special features go, picture quality is great as always, man. And you get this really great making of documentary of both part one and part two called Two Girls, One Duck. And it's this great documentary on the making of the movies. And it's a really great in-depth one, which it dives into the difficulties of making an indie Troma movie. It talks about, the struggles of doing the special effects, of the budget that they have, the locations that they have to go to, and it really shows Lloyd Kaufman directing this movie. Because Lloyd Kaufman is he's such a creative force, but I've always heard rumors that Lloyd Kaufman is one of those directors that is very tough on a crew. He's very demanding and he's very tough and he expects a lot from his crew. And you get to see it in this documentary. You get to see him yelling at his crew. You get to see him really demanding stuff, how he yells at actors, how he does many, many, many takes until he gets what he wants right. It's a very fascinating documentary. I've never quite seen Lloyd Kaufman like that before. Seeing him really sort of being this sort of almost dictator on the set. I understand why he's doing that. He wants to get what he truly wants to see on the screen, but I've never seen him like that, dude. So it's a very fascinating documentary, seeing how he directs and seeing the crew and what the crew has to go through on an indie Troma film. Very interesting stuff here, man. I definitely recommend this documentary because it's a really fantastic one. On top of that, you also get interviews, you get Troma promos, and much more, man. I love Troma, and I'm always a big fan and a big supporter of Troma. I can't say I love everything Troma though, because there are certain movies that I prefer from Troma and other ones that I don't. Like the old school Nukem High movies, I love Toxic Avenger, Poultrygeist. There's a lot of really great ones out there. Tromeo and Juliet is another one I really enjoy as well. And there's some that I'm not a huge fan of that they've done, but for the most part, I really appreciate Troma. I appreciate them being this indie studio that has survived over the years, where other ones have went the way of the dinosaur. They've survived and actually have done some amazing work and have flourished. And God bless them, and God bless Lloyd Kaufman, man. He is a treasure that I'm glad he's still doing weird stuff to this day, man. So God bless Troma for sure, man. If you haven't checked out Return to Nukem High, aka Volume 2, then definitely do it, guys. Watch Part 1 and then watch Part 2 and experience all of the Troma craziness. Oh, and by the way, I got mine signed by Lloyd Kaufman, by the way, because that was part of the Kickstarter deal. He did sign it, so great documentary. Got the signature by Lloyd Kaufman. It was only over a 4-year fucking wait, but I finally got it, guys. Definitely give this one a look. Return to Nukem High, aka Volume 2! And the next pickup that I got, guys, is a Blu-ray that I found over at the Dollar Tree back when I checked out the sale in December. And that is none other than Cell right here with John Cusack and my man Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson right here, guys. And I was actually really shocked when I found this at the Dollar Tree back in December, because I was like, I'd never seen Cell at any of the Dollar Trees before, at any of the previous sales. And when I was showing it off in that video, I was like, wow, I can't believe I found it. It's really cool. And there was a guy actually that was right next to me that was looking at the movies. And when I actually stopped filming, he actually had the disc in his hand. He was about to buy this. And he was listening to me talking about the movie, and he's like, "Oh, okay, this seems really cool. It looks like really interesting. Looks like you really like this one." And I was gonna take it. I was actually gonna buy it. And he had it in his hands, and he said to me, "Oh, were you gonna buy this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was gonna buy it, And I was hoping there was a second copy so that he could get a copy and so I would as well. And there wasn't. There was only the one copy. And big ups to the guy, by the way, because he was like, dude, you had your hands on it first. If you want it, it's yours. And I bought it. He could have easily just ended up saying, hey, I have it in my hand now and I'm taking it, but he didn't do that, dude. He was actually really nice about it. So big ups to that guy. Thanks to him, because I might not have it right now if it wasn't for him actually being like, hey, dude, you had it in your hands first. So thanks to that guy. And, I really do like Cell. I really do. Basically, it's about this sort of it's sort of an occurrence that happens all around the globe, it seems like, that basically there's this cell phone signal that once you hear it, it will turn you almost into like a raging zombie like creature almost. that is attacking people and trying to turn them, and the people who did not hear the signal are trying to survive and trying to find a means of survival and maybe see if they can stop this sort of thing from happening to other people, continuing to gain survivors, and just a tale of trying to survive without the elements that what you've had before, like a cell phone and things that you feel like you can't live without. Now you have to live without it, because if you use it, you will die. So, or die or turn into one of these creatures. I remember when this movie came out, and there was a lot of people that hated on the movie. And I think the reason why was, number one, it's based off of a Stephen King story. And it's an interesting idea. And I think a lot of people felt that the movie was a little on the cheap side. The potential was there, but they felt like they didn't quite reach the heights that they wanted to with the movie, or something to that degree. I heard a lot of people really not liking this movie and really complaining. And I have to admit that when I watched it, I really enjoyed it. I went in with low expectations because I didn't really know about the short story at that point. I went in sort of liking other zombie movies, liking other things like 28 Days Later, and movies like that where it feels like there's these raging people that are trying to attack you and you're trying to survive. I've seen these movies before. This movie I absolutely really enjoyed. I really did like it quite a bit. Now, mind you, I did go in with lower expectations. I didn't have any like, oh my god, this movie has to be the best thing since sliced bread because it's a Stephen King story. And a lot of people seem to really be those people that ring that bell of like, oh, if it's not good, if it's not up to the level of other Stephen King movies, then it's not good. We don't like it. I don't come into that with that angle. I don't do that. I quite like Cell a lot. I think John Cusack is really good here. I like Samuel Jackson. He's playing a much different role than Samuel Jackson usually plays. He plays this sort of boisterous, loud guy. Here he plays a little bit more subdued. And I kind of like that, man. And I kind of like the story of these people trying to survive, the trust issues of who they can trust and who they can't. People who you think you can trust, but you can't. These sort of raging zombie-like humans who are trying to attack you at every turn. I like it. Is it the best Stephen King adaptation? Not by a goddamn long shot. It is not. I will fully admit that, guys. But I really enjoy this one quite a bit, man. Go in with checked expectations. But I think if you do, you're going to enjoy it. Maybe you're not going to love it, but I think you're going to enjoy it. And I definitely did enjoy it. And honestly, for $1 on Blu-ray, can I really complain? Not really, guys. I do enjoy the movie, and I'm glad to finally have it in the collection, man. I wasn't going to pay full price for Cell, but if I can get it for $1, why the hell not? So I definitely got this one for sure. And this comes with just a basic one special feature, which is a behind the scenes one, just talking about the making of the movie and how they got involved with it and the short story and stuff like that. Again, it's $1. It's a Stephen King story. I like Stephen King stuff. We'll definitely be talking about other Stephen King later on in the video, guys. But it's not the best Stephen King short story, and it's not the best Stephen King movie adaptation. It's somewhere probably, if you had to rank all the Stephen King stuff, it's probably in the middle somewhere, maybe on the lower end even, but I still enjoy it regardless, man. That's just my 2 cents. Definitely let me know what you think of Cell. Then the next pickup that I got, guys, is a 4K Blu-ray digital release of Hustlers. Yes, right here, man. Hustlers. Finally, I got the 4K Blu-ray digital. Now, I saw this in the movie theater with Nick, and I absolutely loved this movie, guys. I really honestly did. I thought it was sexy. I thought it was really, really deceiving at times. You didn't quite know what to expect. I really love sort of the true story aspect of this, that I never knew what the true story was before in my life. So that was really fascinating to dive into that. The characters at times are really fun, other times are really deceiving, and and sometimes you're having fun times with them, other times you feel like they're the most evil people in the entire world of what they're doing to these guys. Like, you feel sorry for them and sad, but yes, sometimes you hate them. I love that, man. All the different emotions that you feel watching the movie. I think stuff like the pole dancing is really incredible here as well. I think the movie looks amazing here. It's basically about these women who are are strippers, and they cater to the high elite people, like the Wall Street guys, the bankers, the money guys, and the idea that they make a decent amount but not great. And then once sort of the crash of 08, 09 happened, a lot of these Wall Street guys, bankers, they no longer really were coming into this place. They weren't having the money that they used to have. And now these women are now sort of struggling, and they realize that, why not steal from these guys? They stole from all these other people and homeowners and everything, and they lost all their money. Well, how about we do sort of the Robin Hood thing, but instead of giving it to other people, we just keep the money and say fuck it. And that's their story of the manipulation and the deceptiveness, and sort of the amazing true story of how these women conned and drugged all these guys and made all of this money, and eventually the downfall of what happened. It's really an amazing story. It's an amazing movie. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I think all of the actors here do a great job. Constance Wu is great in this movie. I think Jennifer Lopez is absolutely stunning here and amazing. She put in an Oscar-worthy performance, and I'm really sort of pissed that she never actually got an Oscar nomination, because I thought she absolutely deserved it, but she never was able to get that Oscar nomination, unfortunately. But she is really phenomenal here. I can't say I love everything Jennifer Lopez has done, but here I think she's phenomenal in this role of a motherly woman who sort of takes on that sort of leadership role, but also she can be really skeevy at times as well. Very interesting role for her. Like I said, I love sort of the stripper aspect to it, the pole dancing, and I just think the movie looks gorgeous and beautiful, and I think for me, it was a roller coaster of a ride with this movie, and it's a roller coaster of emotions and being on that train. It's a unique movie. I really enjoy it quite a bit. I think it's really fun, and it's fun to dive into sort of the dirty nature of a true story and get the fun aspects of it, and then get the more like, ooh, I really hate these people type of moments. It's that type of movie, man. It's a ride of emotions, and I definitely enjoyed this one quite a bit, man. I really did, and I definitely wanted to pick it up. It looks phenomenal on 4K, guys. It looks amazing, beautiful on 4K. You do get trailers and a feature commentary by the director as well. She did a really great job with this movie, and she talks about working with the actors, Jennifer Lopez, the true story, fact versus fiction of what she put into it versus, the true story stuff as well. Really interesting commentary, man. I really enjoy the movie. It's not for everybody, but I really do love stripper movies like Striptease, which is really great. It's not over the top ridiculous like Striptease or some of those other ones, but I still really enjoyed the story, and I definitely wanted to pick it up. I thought it was a really great movie, and I wanted it in the collection, guys. So finally did it for my stripper fix. I'll pick Hustlers, man. Definitely check it out. Hustlers! And the next pickup that I got, guys, is We're back to Stephen King again, folks, and that is none other than It, Chapter 2, right here. The 4K Best Buy exclusive steelbook that I got, man, and I'm damn glad to have it, man, because this 4K steelbook is pretty much sold out, guys. And this is a great steelbook, man. As you can see, man, with sort of the older adult versions on the front cover there, with sort of Pennywise looking all devious. And then on the back side, you have the other side of Pennywise with the kid versions over here as well. Actually, it's a really great steelbook, man. This looks really phenomenal. And when I saw this at Best Buy, I was like, this looks really fantastic, and I have to pick this thing up, dude, because it looks really amazing, and if I don't, I'm going to kick myself. And I'm not a huge fan of steelbooks all the time, but there's certain ones that really sort of make me want to buy it. And this steelbook is definitely one I definitely wanted to get up on. So I'm so glad that I did. I think it looks actually really cool, dude. Now, okay, look, let's be honest here. When It Chapter 1 came out, I think a lot of people felt like, okay, how is It Chapter 1 really going to stack up, right? I mean, how are they really going to beat the TV miniseries version? How are they really going to beat Tim Curry as Pennywise? I mean, how far are they going to go with this? And then when It Chapter 1 came out, it really blew everybody away. Everybody was so amazed by It Chapter 1. They felt like, you know, Bill Skarsgård, who was doing Pennywise, he was amazing in the role. The R rating, they went further with the killings. You know, the kid versions of these characters were absolutely phenomenal. They loved the story. They loved the thrills and the scares, and it really felt like a genuinely really great horror film and a really great Stephen King adaptation at the same time. And everybody was really anticipating It Chapter 2. And the hype was huge. The hype was absolutely phenomenally huge. And there was a lot to live up to. Not only the fact of you had to live up to It Chapter 1, but the fact of the second half of the It Chapter 2 book. Like like if you were to break it up into the chapter of the kids and then the chapter of the adults, I think a lot of people look at the adult version of that story and say it's not quite as good as the kid version. And it's tough to say, but I think Kids in Danger is a little bit more effective than Adults in Danger. I just think that's just the general consensus overall, man. And so, how are you really going to make Pennywise scary and effective with the adult versions as you did with the kid versions? I think that was always going to be the struggle. And I was looking forward to seeing what they do with this. And I think they did as good of a job as you can possibly ask them to. I know there's a lot of people out there that are hugely disappointed by this movie. And I mean there's a lot of people hugely disappointed by this film, man. I'm not one of them. I'm not really disappointed by this film as much as other people were. And I get it. Trust me, I understand why people are disappointed with the film. It's not as good as part one. Clearly, I get that. And I agree with you guys. I like the adult versions. I think the acting is really great from everybody here. I think the standout here by far is Bill Hader. I think Bill Hader does a great job with this role of I believe the older Ricky. I think he did a really great job here, as does everybody as well, man. Everybody hits it out of the park as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's tough to make this movie scary in the way that part one was scary, and I think they do that in some points. But other points, I think they make it more of a sort of carnival thrill ride in the fact of it's not exactly scary more as it is. It's got some funny moments that you laugh at, and then some jump scares where you sort of go back and you're kind of like, oh, hey, cool, you know, I'm on a ride. I think that's where they wanted to go with this movie. I think in that aspect they succeeded. I don't think the scares are as good as the first film. Even though I said I really enjoyed the acting, I think the acting is better in the first film as well. And I also think Pennywise is more effective and scarier in the first film than he is in the second here. I really do love Bill Skarsgård. I think he still does an amazing job with this role. But again, I think when the kids are in danger and you do the clown stuff with the kids, I think it's more effective here. I think the scares are more effective in the first film. I think the special effects, I think, are a little bit more effective in the first film as well. I'm not saying this film is a disappointment because I do really enjoy it and I now own it in the collection. But for me, I look at part two and I say part two is sort of the lesser of the two films, and that is by far the truth. It really is the lesser film. There is no doubt in my mind about that 100%. It is definitely the lesser film. But for me, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I think that this film still has a lot of effective moments to it. I think when Bill Skarsgård is really good as Pennywise here, he's really phenomenal, and I think the acting is really good when it definitely has to be. On top of that, look, I know a lot of people are going to complain about the ending, and a lot of people are going to be like, well, look, the ending really sucks. And look, the ending sucks in the book. Let's be honest, the ending sucks in the book, and when they did it in the 1990 TV miniseries, I don't think it was effective there either. It's a really hard ending to do for it chapter 2. It really is not easy, man, because when Stephen King wrote this story years ago, he was probably high on really heavy drugs, man. He was probably doing some really crazy cocaine, man. And it shows. If you really read the book, it shows, man. The whole thing with the giant spider and, the outer space stuff and just weird shit, dude. And I think they did as good as they possibly could do with the story. I think the ending is a little bit of a letdown compared to the ride that you've been on through part one and most of part two. I still think it's effective, but I don't think it's as good as it possibly could have been. I think they probably really ended up with part two, I think, sticking very strictly to the story and didn't really make a lot of huge changes. And I think maybe they should have changed some things up. I know some purists probably would have been upset, but I think if you would have done a more effective ending, I think people probably would have had a better feeling on the movie. It's really tough to really talk about this movie overall because I really like it, but I think the problem here is that there was so much high expectations from the first movie that I don't think the second movie could have honestly ever lived up to it. I think if you take this film just as a separate thing outside of part one, I think it's really effective. But when you combine the two, I think part one is clearly better. But I still really like this one quite a bit, guys. And I think as a two-parter, I think it blends really nicely with part one. I really honestly do. That's just my opinion, guys, but definitely let me know what you think. And there's actually a lot of really great special features here, man. I mean, you get a really great making of part one with the kids and how they were cast and talking about Bill Skarsgård and how they transformed with the makeup and how they was acting with the kids. And then you have a really great making of with part two as well, and they talk about Bill Skarsgård coming back, doing more CGI work, the adult versions and how they got involved with the film and talking about the differences of making part one versus part two. You get the commentary here, you get deleted scenes, alternate scenes, other making of featurettes as well. This disc is very well packed. The movie looks phenomenal on 4K. It really looks phenomenal. Is this movie as good as the old school 90s miniseries? I don't know, man. I mean, I think people are gonna debate it chapter 2 and they're gonna debate it chapter 1 for a really long time. They're gonna include the 90 version in there as well. I I like it all, man. I really honestly do. I like it all. And maybe I'm biased because I really do love Pennywise and I do love this world of it, but to me, I was not disappointed with it part 2. Yes, I do think it's a lesser film, but for me, I still think it's a much better film than I think people have given it credit for. It's a long film. It's like almost 2.5 hours long. It's almost Avengers Endgame level, and it didn't need to be that. I think at the end of the movie, I think a lot of people were disappointed. They had fatigue with the film. They had issues with the fact of the ending and how Pennywise isn't as scary. But I think if you were to take the film on its own, outside of the rest of the It movies, I think it's still an effective ride. And I think if you were to watch part one and part two together, I think it's really a great double feature worth checking out, guys. It's one that I think was highly anticipated, and I think people really were disappointed with it, but I think that's because of the anticipation thing. I think if you take that out of it, I still think it's really effective and worth your time, man. Definitely give it a look, especially if you're into Stephen King and if you're into this Pennywise world. And Pennywise is one scary mofo. I still enjoy it, guys, and the Steelbook is definitely well worth it. Give it a look. Interesting two-parter. It, Chapter 2. And the next title that I picked up, guys, is another Stephen King adaptation and a Scream Factory collector's edition, and that is none other than Silver Bullet, baby. Yeah, look at that really great artwork there by Scream Factory. Not bad, man. And on the inside, of course, the wonderful theatrical art. Very nice. Very nice indeed, man. Now, can you believe I have never had this in the collection? I really do dig this movie quite a bit. I really love it a lot, man. And I've never owned it on a collection. I've watched it on VHS a ton of times. I've seen it on cable numerous amounts. I never owned it. And I was almost actually going to pull the trigger. There's this sort of Australian release that came out of this movie. And I was actually going to pick it up, and I decided against it. I said, well, somebody's got to release this eventually. And thankfully, Scream Factory did, man. Now, the movie is basically about this peaceful town that is experiencing all these sort of killings that are happening, and they believe some sort of maniac is on the loose. But this one kid, he doesn't believe that. He believes that it's a werewolf, baby. Yeah, and he is going to stop it at all costs, along with his uncle, and find out the truth behind all this. And it's just a really, really great movie, dude. I really love this a lot. And I am a fan of werewolf movies. I do like werewolf movies. Now, not all werewolf movies are created equal. Let's be fair here. Some are better than others. And, you know, I think it's a good adaptation of Stephen King's novel. I really love sort of the family dynamic here. I really love the acting. I think Gary Busey is really great as the uncle here. I love Corey Haim here. Rest in peace, Corey Haim, man. I really miss Corey Haim, sort of the younger years of Corey Haim and people like Corey Feldman, and I miss those early sort of 80s days, dude, of those sort of actors, man. I really do. And watching this again was like such a blast from the past, man. And even the creature effects are pretty good. I mean, yeah, I have to admit the werewolf is not exactly the best looking werewolf you've ever seen on screen. Sometimes it doesn't even look like a werewolf at other moments, but it's pretty decent for what it is. It's not American Werewolf in London, and it certainly isn't The Howling, but I think the effects are pretty decent regardless, guys. I sort of I like sort of the horror aspects to it. I like the killings. I like the plot. It's a fun thrill ride with some really nice scares in it. It's a really interesting werewolf tale. I really like it quite a bit, man. And as far as sort of Stephen King adaptations go, it's probably high up there, maybe high middle, I would say, somewhere around there, guys. I really do enjoy this one quite a bit, man. And I think Scream Factory definitely gave it the love it deserved by far, man. You get a new audio commentary with the producer, new interview with one of the actors, with the editor, the old school audio commentary with the director. You get here an old school interview with another one of the actors, special effects artists, theatrical trailer, TV spots, and still galleries. A bunch of stuff here, man. you know, you have sort of the high tiers of werewolf movies. You have the American Werewolf in London, and you have the Howlings, and you have those type of movies, and I think Silver Bullet is definitely high up there. And then you have other movies like American Werewolf in Paris and some of the underworld movies. Some are good, some are bad. I like the old school effects in these movies, and I think that's what really attracts me to the older werewolf films because they don't have the luxury of CGI. They don't have the luxury of all this stuff. It's old school practical effects. Some guy in a suit running around, attacking people. It's fun. I like it. And for me, it's one of these movies that I really grew up with back in the VHS days, and I'm just happy to have it now in the collection, man. So definitely happy the Scream Factory gave it the love it deserved, and another Stephen King adaptation for the collection. Not bad. Silver Bullet. Then the next title that I picked up is another Arrow edition, man, and it's a movie that I actually already own, but it's just another edition to add on because I really love the movie so goddamn much, and that is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas right here with this really great sort of art there. Now this is actually a box because you get a lot of cool stuff on the inside here, man. Of course, you get actually inside here with poster art, which is actually really cool. It's actually a double-sided poster, guys. So you get on the inside here, you get this one, which is the theatrical art right there. Not bad. And then on the back side, you get sort of a Ralph Steadman poster there on the other side there. Not bad. Very, very cool, man. Very, very nice indeed. On top of a booklet as well you get this side and on the back side as well, and a whole bunch of pictures and articles about the making of the movie as well. Very nice here. And also you get as well here, of course, you get the Blu-ray here as well, which I moved over to the theatrical art as well on here. And on top of that, also, you get some lobby cards too, which have sort of different scenes from the movie as well, guys. Very nice. Look at that. Not half bad, man. So you get all of these in there as well. So you get quite a bit here for an Arrow edition of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Not half bad, guys. Woo, quite a bit to show off with this release. Now, I love this movie. I love the living hell out of this movie. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I remember seeing this in the movie theater. Now, this came out the same year as the '98 Godzilla film, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it came out like around the exact same time, if not the exact same weekend almost. And Godzilla was this huge movie. It made so much money, and Fear and Loathing literally made pittance. Like, it didn't make almost a damn dime, dude. I mean, it really bombed at the box office in a big bad way. And I remember seeing it in the movie theater and just loving the literal fuck out of it. I was like, this thing is so amazing, and it has so much really great sort of just social commentary about the world from back in the day to even now. And it really resonated with me. It resonated with me at a time in my life in around 98, 99 when I was really discovering, sort of the political landscape and the political world and really sort of deciding who I was as a person in a lot of ways. And Fear and Loathing really came along as a movie and really just blew the doors open in my world. I mean, it really honestly did. And I know for a lot of people, the book did the same thing for them, and the movie did that for me. And I just really love it. Basically, it's a movie about these two guys who are on this journey to sort of find the American dream, or what they consider the American dream. and just all the topsy-turvy stuff that happens, man, to them. The crazy adventures, the drug fueled sort of wild misadventures that they go on, man. It's really fantastic. It's really amazing. I really love this movie a lot, man. I think this movie is really phenomenal. I think Johnny Depp is amazing here. He transforms into this completely sort of unrecognizable character of Raul Duke, who is completely paranoid. He doesn't trust a single goddamn person. He's cynical about the world, but yet he also has hope at times as well. You also get Dr. Gonzo, played by Benicio del Toro, and Benicio del Toro here is wild, man. He is a wild man here, dude. He is wild and dangerous and out of control, and you never know what he's gonna do next. On top of so much like cameos in this movie, whether it's Mark Harmon or Christina Ricci, Vern Troyer as well. I mean, there's so much cameos in here. It's such a wonderful drug fueled sort of journey into madness, and it really is, man. It was really fantastic here, and Terry Gilliam does an amazing job with this movie. I am a huge fan of Terry Gilliam, dude. I think he's absolutely an amazing director. He's one of my top 10 favorite directors of all time, and I think this is one of his absolute masterpieces, dude. I think it's really phenomenal. Is it as good as the book? Hard to say, man. The book dives into more stuff than the movie can, but I think the movie does a really great job of making it such an effective and really sort of just mind-bending ride that has to be seen to be believed. Really, honestly, dude, I really love this movie so much. As I said, I do have the actual the Criterion edition of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Where is it? Right here. Fear. Yes. I have it right here. So I do have Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I do have the Criterion edition, guys. So I do have that. But I wanted this as a nice compliment to the Criterion edition. And I'm really glad that I have this, guys. I think that Arrow did a really great job with this. You get more special features on top of all the same ones that you do get with the Criterion release here. You get a lot of really great stuff here. You get a new commentary with Terry Gilliam. You get new featurettes about the making of the movie as well, on top of the old school ones, as I said, and a bunch of like lobby cars and the booklet and everything like that. I love this movie so much. This speaks to me as far as sort of how America is, how America was back in the day, and possibly where we're going. It's such a really great social commentary. It's one of the best drug movies you're ever going to watch in your entire life, dude. The performances by Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro are so wild and unpredictable and amazing. I love them so much. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I really enjoy it. And this is a great compliment to the Criterion release, and I'm so glad to own it. I don't care if I got 2 copies. I love this movie so much, and it definitely deserves it, guys. I love this movie so goddamn much, and I hope you guys agree with me. Definitely let me know what you guys think of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And the next pickup, guys, we're entering into some Vinegar Syndrome love right now. 4 Vinegar Syndrome titles, and 3 of them I ended up getting through their sale that they ended up having for Black Friday, and I got these titles back in December, and ooh, wow. So let's get into it with the first one from Vinegar Syndrome during the Black Friday sale, and that is Savage Dawn right here. Now they have this cover on this side here. By the way, it is a hard box, and on the other side, this cover right here. Now this is actually a limited edition release, guys. Out of 4,000 limited edition copies, I got 1,369. So not half bad. I can never get number 1 though. Never get number 1. One of these days. One of these days I will, guys. And on the inside, I ended up picking this cover as the one to choose right there, which is very, very cool as well, man. Now, I had never heard of Savage Dawn. I had never heard of this movie at all. I didn't know what to expect with Savage Dawn. I had no idea, guys. Now, I ended up actually like looking this up because when they announced it, I was really intrigued by it because I was like, okay, this has got Lance Henriksen in it, this has got George Kennedy, it's got Karen Black, and I'm like, why have I not heard about this movie? Why? What about this have I not heard about, man? I had to have heard about it at some point. And no, it's a movie that seems to have gone under the radar actually quite a bit. It's basically about this savage biker gang that likes to terrorize these towns that they go to and just completely revel in brutality and just turn these towns upside down and wreck them and just basically make a mess of everything. All the while that's going on, there is this hardened veteran played by Lance Henriksen who is coming back to this uh, sort of old school town, meeting up with his old friend George Kennedy, and maybe trying to calm his life down and settle things down. And that's when this sort of hardened biker gang comes in and tries to basically ruin this town, and Lance Henriksen and these people have to fight back against this biker gang. And I thought it was great, man. I thought it was really cool. It's basically this sort of like old school biker action movie with Lance Henriksen as this badass hero guy, and it works really well. I like sort of the biker gang. The biker gang all have these weird, sort of interesting personalities, almost like out of like Mad Max or something. Like it's like weird personalities of like these sort of guys that would feel right at home in Mad Max Fury Road world or something. Like these people are all kinds of messed up. And I just love how they portray Lance Henriksen as this real badass, hardened, veteran motherfucker that you do not want to fuck with. Like, you respect this guy. You're like, okay, he's hardened. Do not cross this guy. Like, he respects you. If you respect him, he'll respect you back. But if you end up messing with the people that he cares about, he will fuck you up. And I really love that quite a bit, man. I thought he was great, and I thought Karen Black is really sexy in this role too, playing sort of this evil chick in here who sort of disowns the town and wants payback. George Kennedy here as well, sort of, being sort of Lance Henriksen's friend, and he's in a wheelchair, but he creates these cool like weaponry stuff for the town to use to attack the biker gang. It's really cool. Even William Forsythe is here as well, man, and he plays the leader of the biker gang who sort of is terrorizing this town, man, and he's really great as well here. It's a really cool slice of that sort of 80s 90s sort of making bikers badass kind of stuff. Like, it reminds me of a movie like Stone Cold, which coincidentally also has Lance Henriksen in it as well, which is really weird. So Lance Henriksen sort of plays the bad guy in Stone Cold and plays the hero here in Savage Dawn. So kind of a weird, interesting flip, man. But both cool, sort of badass biker films, man. And this one is right up there. I can't believe I've never heard of this, man. I mean, as much as I love Lance Henriksen, as much as I love a lot of these actors, I think I would have heard this one. But it's probably one of those movies back from like the VHS era days where, if it came out, you heard about it, but then it kind of quickly got sidelined, and no one ever really heard about it, and I didn't hear about it in the DVD days. So now finally getting it from Vinegar Syndrome is great. So it's nice for this one to finally get some love, and I'm glad I found this out, dude. Really cool one, man. And I thought I knew most of the stuff that Lance Henriksen did, but thankfully not, man. And Vinegar Syndrome definitely gave it the love it deserves, guys. You get here, you get a commentary track with the director, and he is actually really honest about the making of this movie, working with the actors, the biker gang, creating this small town, the reception of the film back in the day. Very interesting commentary. You get the original theatrical trailer, of course, limited edition as well. And on the inside here, you also get a double-sided poster as well with this. Now, the double-sided poster is the same as you get on here as well, guys, so it's nothing different. But you also get that as well. So not bad stuff here as well. I would have loved to have seen an interview with Lance Henriksen, William Forsythe, but unfortunately we didn't get that, guys. But that being said, man, it's a really interesting biker one that I'm glad that I gave a chance to, man. I really dug this one. So if you dig cool sort of badass biker films, give this one a look, man. It ain't half bad. Not bad at all. Then the next one that I picked up here is another Vinegar Syndrome title. I had to pick this up, dude. I had to because it just looked too good not to. And I have heard about the movie, but I never got a chance to watch it until now, and that is Spookies, baby. Look at that, man. This is one of the artworks that Vinegar Syndrome was selling. They were selling two different artworks. I ended up picking up this artwork that actually did sell out. So, yeah, this looks really great artwork, man, with all the weird sort of creatures there and the chick sort of, like, her boobs are ready to pop out on her or something. Great cover, dude. And then on the back side, you also get this on the back as well, which is really cool, man. I love that so much. And on the inside, you get this artwork too, which is very cool also. Very nice, man. Now, I have heard of Spookies. Spookies was always one of those staples in sort of the VHS era. You would go to your local Blockbuster, you would go to these rental places, and you'd always see Spookies on the shelf, man. And I always loved sort of the VHS cover, and I always wanted to watch it, but I never got a chance to. And it always sort of passed me by, man. And I was always like, damn it passed me by, shit, but I always heard from everybody how terrible the movie was. The movie is sort of so bad, it's good type of movies, but some people just say it's flat out bad. And I remember seeing a video from Red Letter Media, and they ended up reviewing Spookies, and they basically trashed the hell out of Spookies. And I thought to myself, oh god, maybe it's a good thing I didn't actually like watch Spookies, because I'll probably be disappointed. And then when Vinegar Syndrome came out with this, I said, oh, maybe I have to revisit it because I want this so much, man. It looks so cool. And I just decided, what the hell, man, I'm gonna pull the trigger. And I'm so glad I did, dude. This movie it is so bad it's good. Let's be honest. It is so bad it's good, guys. And the movie really doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense either. Like, I'm watching the movie, and I watched it like 2-3 times to try to figure out the plot here. And it has to do with these creatures attacking these people, possession, and just general weird monster craziness, dude. The movie literally makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. It's just one random thing of these weird creature monsters attacking people after another, and it's like, oh my god, they're attacking me, and it's like, it's fun in sort of that weird monster creature feature stuff where you get these really cool sort of skeleton creatures and weird sort of monster stuff, and it's always I think just as a sort of old school monster creature fan from back in the day, like, this is really cool, like weird demonic sort of creatures and everything. It's really cool and interesting, guys. I really enjoyed this one quite a bit, and I thought it was really honestly fun. I just really love the old school practical effects, man. I think that's what I really appreciate about this movie, and I think if there's anything to take away from these pickups this month is really that, guys. The fact that I love the old school way of doing these effects and the filmmaking aspect of it. It's not like they had the use of CGI. It's not like they could just, shoot the film and say, hey, we'll put this in post production later and it's going to be there and we don't have to worry about it. No, you had to do in camera effects. And I really do appreciate that a lot, guys. I really honestly do. I mean, that's what you watch this movie for, is the effects, because outside of that, man, the plot is just all over the place. The acting is really cheesy as shit. And, yes, and even the effects are really, cheesy and kind of cheap as well, man. But I appreciate it as an old school sort of creature feature monster fan. It sort of warms my heart in a lot of ways. I mean, it's not as bad as everybody says it is. It's not as really all that good either. It's somewhere in sort of the middle tier, bottom tier, I would say. It's still really fun. I really enjoyed it. If you had a bunch of friends and just got together and enjoyed this movie, I think you would have a ball with it. But sometimes it had me scratching my head and being like, what the hell am I watching? It's got its moments of its charm for sure, guys, and it's got some moments of what the fuck as well. But weird cheesiness, blood, gore, you know, girls in danger, creature feature, horror goodness. What can I tell you guys? But Vinegar Syndrome did a really great job with this one, man, by far. You get a lot of really great stuff here. You get the making of Spookies here. This is a really great feature-length making of documentary that goes into everything with this movie. Finding the money to make it, the actors, the director, the old school practical effects, the reception of the film. It goes into everything, dude. This is a really fantastic making of documentary for Spookies, of all things. Like, how crazy is that, man? Man, that's nuts, dude. You also get a lot of really great stuff here as well. You get archival sort of location featurettes. You get a Q&A from 2015. You get a lot of other sort of stuff here. You get outtakes and still galleries, theatrical trailers, and so much more. This is one hell of a bizarre ride. Okay, that's what it is. It's a bizarre fucking ride, guys. But it's a really fun one. And I think you can really feel the fun in it, the cool creature effects, and I think that's what you keep coming back for with this movie. And Vinegar Syndrome definitely gave it the love that it deserves. As a old school creature feature fan, monster effects and everything, cool to have Spookies in the collection for sure, guys. Definitely give this one a look. Can't say it's going to make a hell of a lot of sense, and it's cheesy as shit, but it's pretty fun. Spookies. Then the next title that I picked up, guys, is another one from the Black Friday sale. I had to get it, man, because I couldn't believe that this got a release like this, and especially an R-rated release when it was only previously released as PG-13, and that is none other than Tammy and the T-Rex right here, man, with the lenticular cover right there. Very cool right there, man, the lenticular cover on the backside. You also get this cover right here, and I just ended up switching to the regular, which is Tammy and the T-Rex right there. Not bad at all, dude. Now, I remember this movie from the VHS days. I remember seeing this in, like, Blockbuster and the big box stores. I remember this. But, I've only watched ever bits and pieces of the movie. I never watched the whole thing because there was always this rumor that went on for years. This whole big thing of, like, well, it's PG-13, but it was actually supposed to be an R-rated cut of the movie, and there's all this sort of cutscenes and, like, cool sort of blood and gore effects and of the dinosaur killing people, and they had to cut it all, and the footage is all gone, and it's only PG-13, and there was always a disappointment to that there was never sort of the R-rated cut that had been sort of the myth that has been circulating for years. And then when Vinegar Syndrome announced it, they said, "Oh, yeah, we're releasing Tammy and the T-Rex, and not only are we re-releasing it, but we're doing the R-rated cut of Tammy and the T-Rex. We're putting the gore and blood in, back into the movie." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Like, I got it. Like, this is gonna be a cool thing to get, man." And it's so it's so crazy and so ridiculous and so fucking over the top that I can't help but really love the movie, man. It's basically about this teenager played by Paul Walker who really is in love with Denise Richards' character of Tammy, and she sort of dumped this guy who's this really evil sort of hardcore dude, and he hates the fact that Paul Walker is even near her. He's like, she's mine. Get away from her. And he is ready to basically attack this guy at every corner. Anytime he sees her, with him, he goes postal. And one day they chase him down, and they chase him into sort of this sort of zoo lion sort of enclosure, and he gets attacked by this lion. He ends up going into the hospital, and he seems to be okay, but this doctor, played by Terry Kaiser, who is sort of this mad scientist genius guy, wants to take the brain of someone and put it into his mechanical dinosaur so that it would come to life. And so he ends up killing Paul Walker's character, taking his brain, putting it into the mechanical dinosaur, and now the dinosaur has come to life, but now it's got Paul Walker's brain, and so he remembers Tammy, and he's in love with Tammy still, and he wants to protect Tammy, so he's now a dinosaur in love with this human woman, and he is now trying to still get with her, protecting her, killing off the people that wronged him. Just try to wrap your head around that shit for a second, okay? The fact that Terry Kaiser's a mad scientist with a mechanical dinosaur that he thinks if he can put the brain into the mechanical dinosaur, it will come to life, and he can control it, and he can be like the science guru of all time, the Nobel Peace Prize winner. He's his evil plan of making a dinosaur come to life through a mechanical dinosaur. What? It just doesn't make any sense. The movie is so weird, bizarre, comedic, off the wall, and somehow it works. I just really enjoy it, man. Paul Walker is really fun here. He's a young Paul Walker at that, dude. He's young, man. He's a young Paul Walker, and I'm telling you guys, he's having a ball with this role. I think Terry Kaiser, who I've met Terry Kaiser at horror conventions, man, and he is one hell of a nice guy, man. And, it seems like he's having a ball with this role. I think Denise Richards, by the way, man, back in the day, Denise Richards was like the hottie of hotties. Like, she was like the hottest chick around, man. And here she is smoking hot, dude. Is her acting all that great? She's hot. What the hell you want from her? But I mean, it doesn't look like the acting here is like Academy Award winning shit. Okay, it's fun. It's over the top. It's B movie cheese. But it's really fun here, and I gotta give them credit because putting the R-rated cut back in here with the blood and gore is really cool. Seeing the dinosaur sort of chomp on people and sort of tear their flesh and the blood and everything in its teeth is really cool, man. It really honestly is cool, dude. I had a ball with this. I think this is a fun movie, dude. This is a just I can't believe this shit gets made type of movie, dude. Really. But it's fun. I had a fun, enjoyable time with it, man. And, at the end of the movie, you just have a big old smile on your face of like, I can't believe what I just fucking watched, but this is so fun, and let's do this again, man. I really enjoy this shit, dude. And I'm so happy that Vinegar Syndrome really gave this the love that it deserves, dude. Honestly. Now, this is the Blu-ray edition. Now, they do have a 4K edition that you can get. I didn't get the 4K edition mainly because, not gonna lie, guys, I really didn't think this movie needed to be in 4K. I'm fine with getting the Blu-ray of this. I'm sure it looks good in 4K, but I was never really interested in the 4K. I'll just take the Blu-ray. I'm cool with it, man. Now, this has an audio commentary with the director and producer, and they really dive into this movie, dude. They talk about how ridiculous this movie is, working with the actors, the effects. It's a fun audio commentary for sure. You also get an interview with the director as well, and an interview with one of the actresses. You get some featurettes here. You also get the full-length PG-13 cut of Tammy and the T-Rex as well. So if you wanted to compare between the PG-13 cut and the R-rated cut, you can. But honestly, from now on, guys, the cut I'm going to be watching is the R-rated cut, because that's the one that I think is the best out of all of them. It restores all the gory bits, plus keeps all the ridiculousness intact. Why not have the best of both worlds, guys? This movie is so fucking weird, so fucking odd. A really early movie for Denise Richards and Paul Walker and everybody, but it's so goddamn fun. I can't deny it, dude. And Vinegar Syndrome definitely gave it the love that it really honestly deserves, dude. A VHS weird B movie from back in the day finally gets love on Blu-ray and 4K. Damn straight. Hopefully more will definitely get the love over time, guys. But damn glad to see it getting the love for Tammy and the T-Rex. And the next title that I picked up, guys, is the fourth and final Vinegar Syndrome title. Now, this title is not part of the Black Friday sale. The other three definitely were, but this one is not. And that is none other than Night Beast right here. Yes, indeed, I picked up Night Beast with the wonderful slipcover right here on the backside, seeing that wonderful alien creature goodness. Very nice. And on the inside, oh yeah, very nice artwork right there. Very, very cool. Very nice, man. Now, by the time the Black Friday sale happened for Vinegar Syndrome, this title was already sold out. Now, you could get the standard edition without the slipcover, but I ended up wanting the slipcover. And what happens a lot of times, and I think you guys kind of understand that as collectors, is that sometimes you just sometimes can't afford everything that comes out month after month. And sometimes titles that you really want, sometimes you just have to be like, I can't get it right now, I don't have the money, and you just hope that these titles are still there by the time a sale happens, and sometimes that's just not the case. And with Night Beast, that was one of those times, guys. I mean, I really wanted it. I said, maybe it's not gonna sell it, and when it did, I practically like kicked myself because I'm like, oh, I should have tried hard to get it. And I was looking on eBay for this, and everybody is like overcharging like a motherfucker on eBay for this, man. Especially with the slip now that it's sold out. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get it now. And I'm a part of certain like Facebook groups that are big into Blu-rays and DVDs and everything. And this one guy was selling his Night Beast, and I said, hey, how much do you want for it? And, he said, hey, this is how much you want, 30-ish, how much dollars? And I thought, that's not a bad price. And, the slip came in really great condition. The movie's really in great condition. The disc is. It was only watched once. And so, sometimes you can really find these titles through sellers on Facebook, or hopefully maybe through eBay as well. Sometimes it's not so easy on eBay, unfortunately, but with this time around, on Facebook, I was actually really happy to find a seller that was selling this in really great condition. So I'm very happy to get Night Beast here, man. Now, as far as this movie is concerned, I've always heard a lot of really interesting things about Night Beast. Now, a lot of people say, again, just like something like Spookies, so bad it's good. Other people say it's just cheap and terrible and bad. Uh, I've always been interested in checking this movie out. Now, I've never really watched any of Don Dohler's movies. Don Dohler is one of those filmmakers that does a lot of these sort of cheap B movie style films, uh, that has gained a lot of cult following. Red Letter Media has ended up reviewing a lot of their stuff. I know a lot of other people really love his work. Other people think all of it's trash. Night Beast is one of those ones that people say is one of his best movies that he did. People do go out and say that it's one of his best. So I've always been kind of like maybe giving this a chance. And so that's why I definitely wanted to get it. And it's an interesting movie for sure. It's basically about this sort of alien creature in his ship that sort of comes down. He crash lands, can't fix his ship, and basically he blows to smithereens a lot of these townspeople. And the local sheriff and the department is trying to figure out what's going on here, trying to stop this alien creature from terrorizing any more people. And that's just basically where we go from there, guys. I mean, the movie is cheap, dude. The movie is cheap. The movie is cheap. It's got some really cheapo effects to it. The acting is really not good, man. Very cheap quality acting. Dinner theater, dare I say. I like the alien creature. Like I said, the alien creature is really cool, man. I really like the sort of mask on the creature and that. I think the alien creature is probably the most money they spent on this film, to be honest with you. You know, I like the characters. I think the movie takes itself seriously when maybe it should have been more sort of fun, raucous type of thing, like maybe something like a Tammy and the T-Rex. But I think that's what kind of the charm is about Night Beast, as well as that they take themselves a little too in like a serious way when you realize that this movie is sort of just a cheesy movie, and it's not really any sort of serious sort of badass action alien film, because it's really not. It's got its fun moments, it's got its charm to it, and even though the acting is cheesy and did in dinner theater, there there is a fun and unique quality to the bad acting. I think there's a fun quality to the cheesy effects here, to the alien. I actually kind of really enjoyed Night Beast. I honestly really did. I knew it was low budget going in, and I set my expectations the right way, and I wasn't disappointed. I like this one quite a bit, guys. I honestly did. It sort of touched my sort of cheap, low budget, B movie horror fest kind of nature that I have, dude. I definitely dug this one quite a bit, dude. And for the money that I spent, for the 30 some odd dollars, it was well worth it, dude. I don't know if I'm gonna dive into more Don Dohler. I really don't know. I mean, definitely let me know what other interesting Don Dohler movies there are, or what are sort of the top tier Don Dohler ones, because I know there's a lot of bad ones. Definitely let me know about that, guys. But this was a fun one, and this one probably, for such a low budget that the movie is, I think they pulled it off. I really do. So I really do enjoy this one quite a bit, guys. So for me, I do recommend Night Beast. Cheesy and sort of cheap as it may be, it was still fun, and I still had a good time with it, and it's definitely going to stay in the collection for sure, guys. And Vinegar Syndrome definitely gave it the love that it deserves, especially for a Don Dohler cheapo movie. You get an audio commentary with writer-director Don Dohler and one of the actors. Really great one. They dive into the making of the movie and the acting and the special effects. Very interesting commentary. You also get an interview with one of the actors, an interview with the visual effects artist, interview with cinematographer, archival interviews, visual effects gallery, outtakes, bloopers, theatrical trailer, and more. A lot of really cool stuff, man. Vinegar Syndrome, man, they give a lot of these low budget movies a chance, and they really go out of their way to, give these movies more exposure than they would otherwise, and I'm damn glad that they do it, guys. Night Beast is a cheapo, unique alien flick, and I kind of liked it. Not bad, guys. Definitely give it a chance if you like Don Dohler. Night Beast. Then the next title that I picked up, guys, is a Severin release, and one that I picked up during their Black Friday sale, and that is Revenge of the Living Dead Girls. Yes, right here, man. Now, when Severin put out their Black Friday sale, I have to admit, I wasn't a huge fan of a lot of the stuff that they were putting out. It didn't really tickle my fancy exactly, but the one that did was Revenge of the Living Dead Girls. I liked the cover, and I liked sort of the trailer that they had put together for the release, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give this one a chance. This is basically. The movie is basically about this sort of woman who is blackmailing this top political guy, and this sort of backstabbing and the back and forth and the sexual intrigue that goes on, and all the while that happens, there's this whole plot with these women that are getting killed, and a few of them come back to life as zombies and start attacking the people that wronged them. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I really didn't like this movie. I really didn't. I wanted to give it a chance, and I did, and I paid full price for it. But I didn't like this movie. And the reason why is that this movie is boring as shit. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This movie is boring as all get out, dude. And the problem is that the whole stuff with the zombie Living Dead girls, that is a small part of the movie. That is barely anything. Before you see these Living Dead chicks, it's about over a half hour into the movie before you really get to see them. And you only see them for a couple minutes, and then they go away, and you have to deal with this plot of blackmailing a political guy, and I'm like, this is so boring. It is so boring, and it's such a come on, can we speed this up? Can we get back to the Living Dead girls killing people? I really didn't care for this movie at all, guys. I really didn't. I thought it was dull. I thought it was boring. I thought the Living Dead girls, even though they kind of look cool with the effects, I thought that they didn't use them enough, and it wasn't really effective enough for me. I love a good zombie Living Dead type of movie, and I thought this was going to be a cool sort of, maybe even a cool low budget one that kind of reminds me of some of the cool sort of zombie ones I liked before, but it really didn't do much for me, guys. I really didn't like this one a lot. I I was just sitting there watching the movie, and I was just like, oh, man, can we get this over with? I really didn't care for this movie, guys. Unfortunately, I wish this movie was way better, but I can't recommend this one, dude. I'm definitely not gonna keep this one. Out of all the pickups this month, this is the one where I'm probably not gonna keep it, and it's a real shame because I was really looking forward to this one. Sometimes, and you guys know it, you blind buy something and it just doesn't work out, and this is one of the ones that didn't work out, guys. I hate to say it, but it really didn't. It was really, really disappointing, this one, man. I mean, you do get revisiting the Revenge, an interview with special effects artists that were working on the film and the writer, an interview with the director, and inside the special effects our artist studio, talking to another one of the artists as well, and theatrical trailer. It's not a terrible movie by any means. I've seen a hell of a lot worse than the Revenge of the Living Dead Girls, but it's just so boring and tedious. And I just sat there saying there's so much better movies that I can watch, and this one is on the lesser end. And I really love Severin, and I'm glad they give the love to some of these movies, but sometimes some movies just don't deserve the love, and I hate to say it, Revenge of the Living Dead Girls is one of them, guys. I tried. Sometimes blind buys work out, and sometimes they don't. This one didn't work out. Shame, but it happens. Revenge of the Living Dead Girls. And the next title that I picked up, guys, is a horror documentary that I ended up supporting through their Indiegogo Kickstarter campaign, and that is In Search of Darkness, a journey into iconic 80s horror. Very interesting right here, guys. Now, I ended up contributing to this campaign because I really love what they were trying to do. They were trying to highlight the 80s and spotlight the horror from the 80s and really give the love to the 80s through this really wonderful documentary, talking to iconic 80s actors who have been in these horror films, talking to people that write about horror and definitely study horror. And I do really love great movie documentaries. I really do. I love people diving into decades of horror and talking about the making of these movies and the fascination of them. And so I thought this documentary looks really cool, man. And so I paid the money for an eventual Blu-ray release of this, and I didn't know when we were actually going to get it at this point. It took a while for them to actually put this out. Some people have gotten their copies early, like I did. Other people actually are just getting their copies now. So I was on the luckier side to get mine a little bit earlier, but I know some people have had a little bit of trouble and are just getting them now. Regardless, I didn't quite know what I was expecting with this documentary. I knew they were diving into the 80s. I knew they were diving into documentary horror style stuff from the decade and how it influenced people and the movies themselves. I just didn't really know what they were gonna feature, what they weren't going to feature, how long this documentary was even going to be, because on one side there's some really great horror documentaries out there like Never Sleep Again or the Friday the 13th documentary, which are really phenomenal ones, and those are like 4 or 6 or 8 hours long, man. They dive into like every little detail. So I didn't quite know what this one was gonna be, but I thought maybe it was going to be like an hour and a half, 2 hours long. So here I am actually like, watching it and clicking and everything. And I get about an hour into the documentary and I'm realizing that they've only just started to dive into like 1981-ish, 82. And I'm realizing, okay, we're only an hour into this thing. And then 2 hours in, I'm like, okay, they've just gotten to around like 85 or so. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is going to be a long documentary. What I didn't realize is that this documentary is over 4 hours long. Yes, this is a over 4 hour long documentary. Now, they dive into many iconic horror films from the decade. They go year by year. So they go 1980 all through 1989. They talk about certain movies from that era. Now they don't talk about every horror movie from the 80s, obviously, because we'd be here a long fucking time. But they sort of cherry pick certain movies from every year of the 80s and sort of talk about the influences of that, certain actors who were in those movies, actors who were influenced by them, journalists and podcasters and people like that who were influenced by those films, and sort of talk about their influence and the making of those movies. And they also talk about, heroes and villains and the survivor girl aspect of the 80s, and they dive into a lot of topics of what made horror in the 80s very special. And I really did appreciate that, man. I thought this was a really wonderful, really well done documentary, man. I've seen some documentaries that are really on the cheap side, really terrible, and ones that are frankly garbage. And I thought, oh God, I paid a lot of money on this sort of campaign, and I'm like, God, I hope I didn't waste my money, dude. And once I got to like the 4 hour mark, I'm realizing I didn't waste my money. This is a really in depth, well done documentary that I really honestly enjoyed, and I thought they did a really fantastic job interviewing a lot of people, whether it's Jeffrey Combs or Barbara Crampton or Kane Hodder or Heather Langenkamp. I mean, you can go down the list of people. Bill Moseley. I mean, they go out of their way to talk to a lot of people from those movies from the 80s that really influenced us and really talk about what made that decade special and how that decade is still being influenced, how that decade has influenced so many of those films even to this day. Like, it really is a fantastic and really well done in-depth documentary. I love the style of the documentary. I love how they frame all of each of the years, and also how they frame the questions within each year. Like, you know, whether it's the Survivor Girl aspect, whether it's sort of the horror villain stuff. Like, I really love how in-depth they go. So I really did appreciate this documentary in a big bad way. And now my suggestion to the filmmakers who did this is I want one for the 90s. Give me a 90s horror documentary which is about 4 or 5 hours long, diving into the 90s stuff. Now I want that. Give me that, dude, and I will be a very happy camper, man, because you did a really phenomenal job on this 80s horror documentary. This is, to me, one of the quintessential 80s horror documentaries that you definitely need to watch. I highly, highly recommend this documentary, guys, by far. This is well worth your time, man. Really, really great, dude. And you get here, you get some featurettes basically talking about the art of In Search of Darkness, you know, talking about sort of the making of it a little bit, but mainly you're here for the documentary, and the documentary does not disappoint, guys. If you can get a chance to watch this, if you're a huge fan of 80s horror, then this documentary is right up your alley, guys. Definitely give this one a look. This is absolutely amazing and well worth your time. Over 4 hours long, and it's definitely worth every single second, man. Not bad at all. In Search of Darkness. Then the last pickup that I got, guys. Oh, the last one. It's been quite the haul, man. And the last one that I got is a Severin release, and I had to pick this up, dude. This one I had to pick up by far, and that is the Peanut Butter Solution. Oh my God, guys, the Peanut Butter Solution. Okay, let's get into the Peanut Butter Solution for a second, because I I have never seen this movie, but I have heard of it, and I've heard of it for a long time. I actually used to be a big fan of the horror podcast Dead Pit. I used to be a huge fan of those guys, and every once in a while they would joke about the Peanut Butter Solution. Like, they would have Michael Felcher on from Red Shirt Pictures, and they would talk about, oh, you know, the Peanut Butter Solution is coming out, you know, and they would joke about it. Obviously, it was never coming out, but they ended up like joking up like how, like, there's so many ridiculous movies that come out, and yet the Peanut Butter Solution never gets put out, and they always joked how it will never be released ever. And I kept hearing about the movie, and I'm like, what is the obsession with the Peanut Butter Solution? And now finally watching it, I can see what the actual like obsession is, because this is such a wild and weird movie, dude. It's basically about this young boy and his friend who go into this mysterious house. Something happens to the boy, and the next day all of his hair falls out. It all falls out, man. There's like nothing. It's something weird happened. His whole hair, and he's so distraught over it. He's so like, you know, sad, and he won't go to school, and just everything is messed up for this kid. And he has this sort of weird sort of dream, nightmare, premonition, whatever the hell you want to call it, of these older people giving him the formula for this hair growth stuff, this goop that he should put on his head and it will make his hair grow. He does that. Unbeknownst to him, basically his hair is non-stop growing. It won't stop growing. And on top of that, there's this there's this whole conspiracy with other kids being taken by this maniacal evil teacher who has also tricked these kids into losing their hair apparently, and also using this solution to put on their hair so now their hair grows. He's making the kids cut their hair so that he'll sell it to these salons and make money. His other friend also uses the solution on his crotch, and so now his pubes are now growing out of his crotch area, like down his leg. You've got some really weird fucking shit in this movie, dude. I can't. This movie is really hard to explain, but it's so weird and all over the place that I can see why people are obsessed over this. This is sort of a weird mad trip of a kids movie. Like it's a kids film because it's got sort of the goofy kids music, and it's not like a horror movie. Well, it's a horror movie for kids, but it's not labeled a horror movie in the traditional sense. But it is so weird and bizarre, guys, that I can't help but be obsessed with this movie, dude. Whether it's the whole like thing of like losing your hair, of having hair growth on your hair as an early child, and having your hair grow out to the point where a maniacal evil teacher is cutting your hair in order to sell it to a weird salon guy. Like, why didn't he just donate it to people who are bald? What the fuck? What the fuck is this movie, dude? This is so weird and bizarre, guys. But this movie I had this is an experience. Like honestly, this is so weird and bizarre of a movie that I can't help but like say how much I really appreciate how bizarre and weird this is. And it comes from Severin Kids. This is the first in a long line of hopefully weird and bizarre kids titles that Severin is putting out. God bless Severin. God bless Severin. Places like Severin and Vinegar Syndrome, man. God bless your heart, dude. You do the Lord's work, man. Because this is one hell of a trip. This is. They say. They say this is one hell of a trip. This is a massive what the fuck, and it really is, dude. This is a pleasant what the fuck, and I now see the obsession, and I'm obsessed with this movie now, guys. This is so good. And Severin gave it the love it deserved. You get the extended U.S. theatrical release version. You get new commentary with the producer and some of the actors. You get an interview with one of the producers, an interview with another one of the actors, a Tales for All, Paul Crupp on Rock Dimmers and the Canadian kids film, Canadian trailer, original U.S. trailer. This is an original, like, Canadian kids film. I don't know what the Canadians are smoking. I don't know what they're fucking doing, but give me more of what the Canadians got, because I'll take it, goddammit. This is so crazy and bizarre and over the top. It's a horror kids film. It's got no blood and gore, but it's a real what the fuck, guys. I love this movie. So weird and bizarre, but give me more of the peanut butter solution, please. I'll take it. Give me more of that crack. All right, everybody. That will do it for the Blu-ray pickup video for December of 2019. And oh my lord, guys, I hope I didn't disappoint you with how many pickups I got for December. Yeah, I finished off December very, very strong. I finished off 2019 with a lot of really great titles. And I just want to say that 2019 was a huge, wonderful ride for physical media for me, man. I found so many titles, some really great blind buys that I gave a chance to that I'm so happy I did. Some misfires that didn't work out, but that happens. A lot of really great titles that I've gotten to revisit. there was so much really wonderful physical media that came out in 2019, man, and I had some really wonderful, fantastic pickups throughout all of the year. Definitely go back and check out all of the pickup videos for 2019. I picked up a lot of really wonderful and surprising media, some cool retro titles, 70s, 80s, 90s, new releases, a whole bunch of stuff that I got, guys. 2019 was a good year for me and a good year for physical media, and I hope it was for you. Definitely let me know what you guys picked up. I'm dying to know what you picked up for December. And what are some of your favorite releases of 2019? Definitely let me know. And now we're on to 2020, guys. And 2020 here has so far been hugely amazing for physical media. There's been so many really wonderful releases, and I have got some really wonderful, fantastic pickups already for January. Some really amazing stuff that I cannot wait to show you guys. 2020 is going to start off strong, and I cannot wait to show you guys that. So definitely keep a lookout for that video, guys. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give it the thumbs up. Again, let me know what you guys picked up. I'm dying to know, all of you wonderful physical media lovers, what you guys got and the wonderful titles that you definitely enjoyed throughout the year. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Check out the other Blu-ray pickup videos that I've done. The Blu-ray DVD out and about videos I do every single Tuesday. The movie hunting videos, movie reviews, and so much more. If you love movies and physical media, hit subscribe and become a part of the Film Fan Nation. I want to thank all of you wonderful subscribers out there, everyone who's a part of the Film Fan Nation. You guys go out of your way to watch the videos, to subscribe, to comment, and I really appreciate it so much, dude. This really great loving movie community that I've put together through YouTube, it's gone beyond my wildest expectations, and I really do appreciate every single one of you so much. So thank you so much for your love and support, and I hope I give you the passion right back as much as you give it to me. So thank you beyond words, honestly. Thank you so much, guys. So if you love what I do, then definitely hit subscribe and keep up to date with everything I'm doing through Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. FilmFan108. Keep up to date with everything I'm doing, plus special pictures and videos I do from time to time on social media as well. Alright, guys, I will see you back next time for a brand new Blu-ray pickup video. Take care, everybody, and happy hunting.